Well, here in Spain, Cathal Rochford joins us for both this week and next. How are you doing, Cathal?
Hello, Howard. I'm keeping very well, thank you. Trying to stay cool in the summer heat here in Spain. What about yourself? How are you doing?
I'm very well. Since it's peak holiday season here in sunny Spain, and many people listening to us while on holiday and perhaps falling in love with the lifestyle, we're going to spend both weeks sharing useful advice on what they need to know about when moving to Spain, from a tax and financial planning point of view. So first of all, Cathal, some words of encouragement to listeners wondering whether to relocate here. How pleased are you that you made the move to Spain?
Yes, I couldn't be happier with my move to Spain. I've lived across various regions in Spain, including Malaga, Valencia and Mallorca, where I live now. In fact, my children were born here and we've really put down roots and built our life here in Spain. I think a life in Spain brings a great climate, bright sunny days throughout the year, a great culture and a real outdoors lifestyle. And I think it's a very safe and family-orientated place to live, as well as a more balanced, relaxed pace of life. When comparing it to rainy Dublin, where I'm from, there's certainly no comparison.
Okay, moving on to financial matters now. Let's start with the basics. Where do UK nationals living in Spain need to pay tax?
Well, it depends on how much time they spend in Spain, amongst some other factors. You will become a tax resident in Spain if you are in the country for more than 183 days in a calendar year, but possibly also if your centre of vital interests is in Spain, meaning that your family and dependent children live here, or if your centre of economic interests are in Spain. This means that if your asset base and income streams are primarily in Spain versus any other country. As a tax resident, you will be liable to Spanish tax on your worldwide income gains and wealth, and also subject to Spanish succession and gift tax rules. If you have left the UK but still have relevant UK-sourced income or gains, you may very well have to pay tax in the UK on these. However, there is an offset or a credit, which is part of the double tax treaty, to ensure that you don't pay tax twice on the same income.
What sort of tax can they expect to pay in Spain?
So each autonomous community in Spain, and there are 17 in total, can adjust certain tax rates, allowances and rules so that these rates can vary across the regions. There are, of course, the usual taxes that apply, like property tax, utility taxes, VAT and things like that. But I will try to focus on the main annual taxes that people need to consider. Income tax rates for general income, which would include pension, employment income, salaries, rental income. These range from around 18% to the high 40s, sometimes as high as 50%. You've also got savings income, which includes interest, capital gains, dividends, investment income. And these are taxed progressively from 19% as high as 30% for earnings in this category over 300,000. Spain also imposes annual wealth taxes, but this only affects a small percentage of people. The main wealth tax allowance is, including your main home allowance and your personal allowance, is usually as high as 1 million euros. So people above 1 million euros will start to pay wealth tax. However, this does vary from region to region. For example, in Andalusia and Madrid, they have a 100% exemption against Spanish wealth tax. And then areas like the Balearic region where I'm based, we have an allowance as high as 3.3 million per person. So there is some variance there in terms of wealth tax. Finally, you do have also a relatively new tax that they brought in called the Solidarity Wealth Tax. And this was brought in as a consequence of Andalusia eliminating their wealth tax. But usually this doesn't apply to regions where there is a wealth tax in place.
Some people may be put off by Spain's tax regime. What is your advice to them?
Yes, well, I would say the grass may not always be greener where they are now. For example, for UK nationals, taxation in the UK, I would argue, is less favourable than here in Spain. And often people have a misconception about how tax inefficient Spain may be. The trouble is, oftentimes people don't know what they don't know, and this can lead to incorrect assumptions. My advice would be to speak with a suitably qualified and experienced advisor who can build a strategic financial plan that will assess tax, estate planning, pensions and investments, and investigate what tax planning opportunities may be available and what savings may be possible. What I can say is that with the right advice, the right planning and structuring, taxes like Spanish income and capital gains tax, wealth taxes, and inheritance and succession taxes can be greatly reduced. People may be pleasantly surprised that it is possible to improve both their lifestyle and their tax position on a move to Spain with the right planning, advice, and the right positioning of their assets.
And finally for this week, what do people need to know about estate planning in Spain?
Yes, indeed, Howard. Family estate planning becomes even more important when you move to Spain. The Spanish inheritance tax regime imposes forced heirship and a complex succession tax. British expatriates may also have a UK inheritance tax to contend with if they've not yet broken their long-term residency with the UK or continue to hold significant UK-based assets. And both taxes are very different, and specialist qualified planning covering both sides of the equation is crucial. Succession tax in Spain can be as high as 80%, and UK inheritance tax is charged at a 40% rate. However, with the right long-term strategic planning, both taxes can be mitigated, often entirely. So I think instead of the question asking people what they need to know, I would say the question becomes, what do people need to do? And quite simply, that is take professional advice, because cross-border estate planning is very, very important.
And don't forget the Blevins Franks website, which is brevinsfranks.com.
Yes, please have a look on our website, blevinsfranks.com. There's a lot of good articles, podcasts. We have our books available and tax guides. And so there's a wealth of information there to help you with your plan. And even better, get in touch with one of our local offices, and we'd be very happy to have an initial chat and see if we can assist with your own plans.
Thanks, Cathal. Next week, we'll look at what people should consider for their savings, investments and pensions.